I want to go ahead and get into it. Again, Jim and Ian Glenn, we're in San Antonio, Texas. We've been doing the Redox 5 now for going on 7 years. I can't believe that. In the beginning, it was a lot smaller, but we had a blast with my buddy, dear friend, William Friedman. He and I had a blast, and Ann. So we just, I love William Friedman. Then we kind of shifted when Dr. Maureen Hayes and Lee Oswald came in. So I do want to make an announcement now, and I will do it again on the back end, but we are shifting. We want to give everybody a gift, and the gift is your Friday, especially those in the States. We want to give you your Friday night back. So we're going to make a shift to Thursday night on the 29th of this month. So not next week. Next week, we've got Dr. Dick Walker and Nancy Walker. I think they have a guest. I forget who it is. So it'll be Dr. Walker and Nancy next Friday. A lot of us are going to be on the cruise. Phyllis and Judy and myself, Maureen Hayes. So a lot of us are going to be gone. So, but then on the 29th, Thursday night, U.S., Friday in your part of the world, Ray, we'll be doing the Redox 5. Our first guest on the 29th is going to be a fellow I think some of us know, and his name is Alan Noble. He will be our guest on the 29th, Thursday, sharing his Redox story. So we'll have another testimonial night with Alan Noble. Right now, I'd like to go ahead and have Dr. Ray come on. He's kind of our medical guru here, since we don't have Lee or Dr. Maureen. And Ray, can you just real quick give us a disclaimer, but maybe first go ahead and share what are we talking about tonight for the people that are coming on that really have no clue what we're talking about. They may got an invitation. Hey, come on and hear some of these amazing testimonials, but what is causing these testimonials?
Well, essentially, hello, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks again, Jim and Ann, for having me. They're essentially the sparks of life. The mitochondria inside of your cells, and you are up to 100 trillion cells. There's debates between 75 to 100 trillion, but we won't get lost in the zeros. Mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, makes the energy known as ATP that all cells require to function. In the same process in the Krebs cycle that we actually make the ATP, the energy made from salt water, interestingly enough, sodium chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, some include nitrogen, are the redox signaling molecules made. They're made in the Krebs cycle, spinning off in the trillions per second, per minute, per hour, per day. Once upon a time, considered waste product because the focus was always on the ATP, the energy being produced. But since the Nobel Prize-winning discovery of 1998, nitric oxide, the whole world turned upside down in terms of redox signaling molecules. And it was then and since known increasingly with hundreds of thousands of research papers now, it's an exploding area of science, that those redox signaling molecules actually regulate the DNA. Transcription factors that regulate your genes, your genetics, DNA chromosomes, if you like. And so everything is underpinned by the redoxome. If you have the correct numbers and the correct balance, you will be healthy. If you don't, you will not be healthy. Normal healthy cells, normal healthy you. Sick cells, you'll have your disease process by varying degrees of malfunctioning. The redoxome underpins the genome. The genome and the redoxome underpin every single function in the human body. So that's how powerful these are. That's how important these are. And the whole reason we seek to replace them with a C redox is because your deficiencies begin from puberty. Unless you're a sick child, if you're premature or a sick child, you'll already be in deficiency and imbalances of these molecules. If you've traveled well health-wise until healthy puberty, you're probably doing okay. Unless you want an athletic edge, that is, then I would most certainly be recommending you'll be a better athlete on a C redox than without being on a C redox. But post-puberty deficiency begins 1% per year, 10% per decade. And so we're all deficient unless you're very, very healthy pubescent. And so that's why we're going to hear these amazing result stories of what happens when you give the body what it needs to heal itself. That's what we're doing here. The body is the healer. And once you provide the materials that the body needs and the redox signaling molecules that the body heals, it will undertake its normal processes of correcting those malfunctioning cells. And it's miraculous and a great joy of my life, having come out of retirement for it, to watch that process. And we're all going to have the great pleasure of hearing that process this very evening and morning in certain parts of the world. Now, the disclaimer of ASEA is that ASEA do not claim to treat, cure, or prevent or diagnose any disease. They simply do not need to do that. They are simply providing the body with what it needs to heal itself. Over to you, Jim.
Beautiful. Thank you. Let's kind of go around the horn real quick, kind of in order. I see. Thad, where are you? Where do you live? And how long have you been on the molecules?
I live in Tennessee, and I've been on the products for 7.5 years.
Cool. Thank you. We're going to come back. Phyllis Lane, where do you live? Where you reside? And how long have you been on the molecules?
I live in Kerrville, Texas. I've been on the molecules 4.5 years.
Thank you. Anita Warren, where are you,
Yes,
girl? And how long have you been on the molecules?
I currently live in Denton, Texas, and I got into ASEA when I was in Mexico a couple of years ago. So I've been using ASEA now for a little over 2 years.
And I see you have a killer cat, so hopefully he'll guard you and protect you. Mike McFarland, where do you live, and how long have you been on the molecules?
I live in Corpus Christi on the Gulf of America in Texas.
All right.
And I've been taking the product for about 1.5 years.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you, Mike. Margot.
Yes, I live in Bangkok. Currently, I'm in Hua Hin, south of Bangkok, and I have been on the molecules for about almost 1.5 years.
Thank you. Dan.
I live in Ohio and been on the molecules for 4.5 years.
Great.
Thank you. And Miss Judy.
I live in Midland, Texas, in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and I've been on the molecules since July of 24. So
Beautiful.
almost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Phyllis first because she's got a family obligation that she has to go run, and she's taking off tomorrow actually to go to Miami to be on the trip with us. So Phyllis, you're one of our favorites. You're kind of like, I'm not going to say my mother, but you're kind of like my sister. But you have a wonderful, beautiful testimonial. Yeah, I know, right?
That's been nice.
So give us your story.
Well, my brother came over during the thing that was going around, and I wouldn't let him in the house, and plopped the blue bottle down and said, "You need to drink this. It'll make you better." And I thought, better? What's wrong with me now? You know, I thought I was just fine. And I thought, oh dear, here we go again. Here we go again. I wasn't excited at all. He just kept coming over and coming over and coming over. And I finally decided I got to drink it to shut him up. So that's what I did. I started drinking it. And I don't know, I didn't write it down on the calendar. After about probably 4 or 5 weeks, I worked all weekend in my backyard and taking leaves down to the burn pile, you know, physical labor. And I got up on Monday morning and went to my pill organizer, and I hadn't taken any of my meds. And I'm like, holy Toledo, there must be something to this stuff. So that's what truly got my attention. Well, my sweetheart husband at the time was 90 years old. And he said, well, I ain't going to drink that stuff. And I said, you don't have to drink it. I'm doing it for my health. So he listened to one of these Friday night shows and heard one of the doctors speak about her dad, Dr. Carmen. Gosh, I can't even think of Dr. Carmen
Keith.
Dr. Carmen Keith, right. When he heard that amazing story, he said, oh, okay, I'll drink it, but it's not going to help me because I've had this back injury since a car accident 20 years ago. Well, that's what concerned me because the doctors had put him on 3,000 milligrams of high strength analgesics for every day. And that's 3,000 milligrams. And that's what worried me. So he started drinking it. About 6 weeks later, we had a bad storm and he just flagged me off, wouldn't take any medications. This went on for 3 days. Third day, I said, honey, how's your back? And he looked at me like I was absolutely out of my mind. He says, what do you mean, how's my back? And I said, you haven't had any of your meds for 3 days. How does your back feel? He said, my back feels fine. So that was the big aha moment for both of us. So when our son called and said that his partner had been diagnosed stage 4 in 6 organs, he said, she can't get out of bed. She's having anxiety attacks. And I said, well, we just found out about something. Would she be open-minded? And he said, well, here, you can talk to her. So I explained to Valerie what little I knew about it, which wasn't much at that point. And she said, Phyllis, I'll do anything. I just want to see my twin great-grandbabies before I die. They're 4 months old in South Carolina, and they live in Schenectady, New York. So we said, we'll pay for it. We'll send it to you. So it was at that point that I thought, okay, if I'm going to be paying for this and sending it to her, I ought to get a little thank you check. So that's what got me into the business, though I wasn't really excited or interested in working the business at that point. So by July, this was February, by July, she texted that she was going to see those babies for the first time. And now I think we had trip number 20. So she's 4 years down the road, and, you know, she's just ecstatic with the results that she's had. And that just thrills my soul because she credits us with saving her life. Well, her body saved her life, but we had this gave us the product and we shared it. We were the messenger. My housekeeper comes every 2 weeks, and her grandson, her 12-year-old grandson, I knew had been sick for several months. And every time she'd come, she'd kind of tell me how he was doing. But one week she came and she really looked bad. And I said, Alma, what's going on? And she said, well, I just got off the phone with my son, and the doctor has given Cesar a 1% chance of survival. They say his brain is shutting down and his organs will shut down. She said, do you think this stuff would help him?
And that was from that little critter in the woods, correct?
Yes, that was his condition. Yes. And he had been hospitalized for, well, he'd missed that whole school year. So he'd been in a coma for 17 days at this point. So I said to her, well, Alma, I know it can't hurt him, but he's in Mexico and here we are in Kerrville. How are we going to get it to him? And she said, well, my sister's going back tomorrow. She's visiting. So I had 4 tubes of Renew 28 and I sent them with her. And when she got to the hospital with them, the son showed the doctor, and the doctor looked at it and said, absolutely not. I have no idea what this stuff is. Well, when the doctor trotted out the room, they started giving the Renew 28, started rubbing it all over him. Cesar woke up, a smile on his face, and said, I want a hamburger.
That's awesome.
Well, the kid got back in school, and then every 2 weeks when she would come, she was showing me the videos of the latest therapy session, learning to go upstairs and walk. And, you know, it's just been a joy. And she continues to show me pictures of Cesar and his brother and, you know, the happiness that they're in. Now, I don't want to take up too much time because, Jim, you know, I got a world of testimony.
I know. And Phyllis, and with Paul Lozic, that your friend that speaks Spanish and was able to talk to the family, and he's got the collection of those videos. So maybe one time we'll have you and Paul back on to be able to share that. So Phyllis Lane from Kerrville, Texas, now moving to Albuquerque. We will see you in a couple of days down in Miami. So thank you so much, and go have a nice dinner with your family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phyllis. You bet. Thank you. Thad.
Yes, sir.
Unmute. Okay, cool. I haven't heard your story in a while, so I'm kind of looking forward to hearing it. Same with Margot and same Anita. I know Judy's and then Dane. So real quick, Thad, share your journey.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on tonight. So I grew up in Kansas on a farming ranching operation. played every sport, worked really hard, got bucked off of horses, showing cattle, and I thought I was invincible. Didn't really get sick, didn't break bones, had a pretty active youth. And then at the age of 22, I had a back fusion. So I went from perfectly fine to essentially couldn't walk in 6 months. And at that time, they said you can live with it or have surgery. And so I opted to go ahead and have the surgery. And I was in pretty good shape for about 7 or 8 years. And then everything started to deteriorate again. Backs hurting, knees start hurting, shoulders start hurting. And at that point, I decided I didn't want to go back in for additional procedures. And I started trying lots of different things, legal things, alternative health options. And long story short, I suffered for about 18 years and tried everything, found a few things that helped some, didn't find anything that helped 100%, and most things didn't help at all. And 7.5 years ago, a friend from church introduced me to the Redox molecules, and I was pretty skeptical and cynical at the same time. And I knew that they wouldn't work on me because nothing else had. So I started to use the products. And at that time, back, knees, and shoulders hurt every single day. It's just a matter of what degree of discomfort is it. I couldn't sleep more than 4.5, maybe 5 hours a night, and typically felt more exhausted when I woke up than when I went to bed. I had mental fog, but didn't know that it was mental fog at the time. I just knew people said when you get older, the brain starts to slow down, function starts to dissipate. And I figured that was normal for aging. And then I didn't have a very good attitude. I was probably a really, really tough person to be around, not a good dad, not a good business partner. And so life was kind of in the toilet and headed the wrong direction. When I was introduced to the products, again, I didn't think that they would work, but I decided I would use them for 6 months, give them an opportunity, because that's one of the big things that I had learned in the 18 years is it takes time for things to work. They're not just going to be instantaneous. So I started using the products, knowing they wouldn't work on me. 2 weeks later, I was sleeping better. 2 months in, I had energy that I could testify to, that I could feel myself. Other people had told me, hey, you're looking better. You look, like you've got more energy much earlier than that, but I wasn't believing it. About 2.5 months, the mental fog lifted, and 5 to 5.5 months is when the back, knees, and shoulders quit hurting.
If you don't mind, Thad, how much were you drinking in the beginning? And through that whole process, did you alter how much you were drinking and using the gel?
I think I was probably using 4 ounces per day because that's what it said on the bottle. And I was using the Renew 28, and those were the only 2 products we had when I started. I didn't know to take more. I just knew that that's what I've tried to, go back in my mind and figure that out. And I'm estimating that it was probably 4 to 6 ounces a day, and probably using the gel twice a day or occasionally when I needed it.
Now, with what how much are you drinking now?
I do 6 to 8 ounces a day unless I'm really active or, in a stressful environment traveling. I might take up to 12 ounces, and occasionally maybe once or twice a year for 2 or 3 days, I'll do 16 ounces a day.
And where is your level of discomfort now versus where it was in the beginning?
Until the last 1.5 years, I would say I was 95% discomfort free. I just didn't have issues. And now, like all people, I still live in the country. We've got family that's next door that have livestock and farm. So we get out and we do stuff. We hike with my kids. We water ski. We're pretty active. So there are times when things will bark or remind me. And one of the biggest challenges I still have when I travel, if I sleep on a bad bed, if it's too soft, my back will wake me up during the night, or I'll wake up the next day going, that's not going to work. I'll sleep on the floor. I need it to be as hard as a rock for my comfort. So, there's still a few things that bother me at times, but I have the products now that can empower my body to take care of that.
Cool.
Now, have you incorporated the gold, being that you are active, you're on a ranch farm? I mean, I would think the things that do aggravate, have you shifted to using the more specific gold and the benefits that it gives for discomfort?
I have. I've had really, really good responses on the gold, but I would say the first time that I used it, I had pretty high expectations because I had heard some testimonials of people that had used it before I got my hands on it. And I had banged the outside of my elbow, like that knotty bone that sticks out. I had bumped that probably 3 or 4 times over a month and a half period, and it was just constantly hurting. And then I had a muscle or a nerve on the outside of that elbow that was also giving me some fits. So when I first got the gold, the first thing I did is I put it on that elbow. Nothing happened. I put it on the elbow again. This is like 3 or 4 or 5 times in a day, and I got no response. And then I think it was maybe Dr. Maureen Hayes or somebody said, hey, you might have to put it on a different spot or go looking for the source, that it might not be where it's the discomfort is. And so I said, all right. And I started at my collarbone and I did my whole arm, armpit, all the way down to the fingers, the entire thing. And 20 minutes later, that elbow wasn't hurting.
Awesome.
So a couple of different times I tried to put it on the elbow to see if it would help. And every time I would have to coat the whole arm. I never figured out exactly what the spot was because I'd put it one spot and then another spot. When I coated the whole arm, it quit hurting. When I didn't, it didn't. But on my knees and back and other spots that it was less than 10 minutes in most of those places. The discomfort was gone.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hey, real quick, Dr. Ray, do you mind in a couple of minutes kind of go over what the liquid that came out 15 years ago, then the Renew 28 gel came out 10 years ago, and then this gold? And for the people that don't know what those products are, can you kind of in a brief moment kind of share real quick?
Sure, Will. Just on that one for Tad, that's referred to as referred pain. So, for example, if you have pain in your calf or the back of your leg and it's sciatic, for example, then the probable cause is in your butt or your lower back. So if you're just targeting where the pain is, you may not always be targeting the source. So that was the lesson there. If you have any issue in the arm, go for the neck. If you have any issue in your leg, just to be sure, go for your low back, as well as target the area of discomfort, by the way. So that's the answer to that. That little bang on the outside of the, that's called the lateral epicondyle, Tad, and you probably almost gave yourself a tennis elbow by the sound of it. Anyway, there's actually 5 Redox products that ASEA have now brought to the world. The first being the ASEA Redox liquid supplement. So this is the biggest game changer. It still is, in my opinion, the #1 product, the flagship product of ASEA. This is how we can replenish those imbalances and deficiencies of the redox molecules most effectively. This is the 2-ounce cup. So when you're hearing about ounces, it's one of these guys for 2 ounces. I probably take about 6 of these a day, 5 to 6. I'm a bit older and I'm in serious prevention mode. Most of us are working between 2 of those cups to 4 cups a day. With higher levels, the older we are and the more problematic our issues are. Because of the great results from the liquid, there was a lot of usage taking place externally. So in the eyes, across the skin. So the company developed a Renew 28 gel. Renew meaning it will actually bring your skin turnover cells back to 28 days, which is what it was when you were 21, by the way. It wouldn't be that at my age, but it probably is now thanks to using Renew 28 gel. So this, of course, is an external means of applying the redox molecules. They're nano size. So this is why we do hear occasionally these amazing results where people weren't on the liquid, were getting the gel applied externally, because if you get anywhere near arteries like your pulse points of your carotids or your radial artery or behind your knee, the popliteal, or the groin where you can feel the pulse of the femoral artery, you're going to get these diffusing into the bloodstream through the skin. So it is an alternative introductory method of redox for the body, but it won't be as focused, if you like, or the same volume as if you're using the redox liquid supplement. I'm a great fan of all redox products. To me, it's get it in whichever way you can. Inside out, outside in. Inside out redox liquid supplement, outside in with the Renew 28 gel. Then they developed a more concentrated serum, which is twice as concentrated mil for mil as the Renew 28 gel. A lot of people love that for targeting, you know, a more pronounced issue or a localized issue or your deepest wrinkles. If you want to, you can do that with the serum. Then they came up with the clay mask, which was a great product for detoxing the skin. It's got the added clay products to strip out and rip out, basically, impurities of the skin. Same amount of redox signaling molecules, by the way, mil for mil as the Renew 28. Now, the biggest and most prolific game changer of all in the history has been recently launched, and that's what you were referring to as the Redox Gold just a moment ago. This only launched this year. Some were lucky enough to get their hands on it in January. I did not until February. I was in Australia when it became available, so I got it the very next month, and it's the configuration of Redox is slightly different. So what they've done with the Redox Gold is they've been able to work out a better ratio of the redox molecules and the numbers of them with the addition of a catalyst. And what's the catalyst for? To catalyze, to enhance the effect. And the target was NRF2, which is a transcription factor that simply means it goes into the DNA. Remember, we said the redox molecules regulate the DNA, and it literally upregulates the production dramatically of glutathione. Now, glutathione is the master antioxidant of all antioxidants. It is made internally with the assistance of 3 amino acids, protein products, but you need the right enzymes and you need the right messaging to produce it. And NRF2 is the messenger. Gold catalyzed it dramatically to the point where studies at Bath University showed in very compromised cells, which of course is mimicking sick cells, the increase was 280%. In healthy cells, the increase was 70%. So that is a 70% increase in the protection, the resilience, anti-fragile, our friend Dr. Lee would say, to protect you against insults to your cells and to prevent you from ever knowing you had those insults. That's what keeps you well. So it was targeted for musculoskeletal causes, irrelevant, doesn't matter what the cause, apply it where it hurts, go for where it might be coming from. But hey, it does more than that, but that's going to be unraveling and found out in the use of the product over time. Beautiful. Over to you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ray. Thank you very much. Margot, I'm really excited. I heard a recording of your story, and I'm really excited. I want to hear it again. So please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, second half of 2023, I started to realize that I was becoming very stiff and compromised after I had been moving. I walk a lot with my dogs. I walk on the golf course a lot. And after sitting down and sitting in the car, I thought, oh my God, how am I going to live through this? I want to live for a while longer and stay the same way as I am. But I didn't know what to do about it. I was always open to alternative ways to get things better. Lo and behold, and I really feel that's how the universe works, I was invited to a presentation. I live in Bangkok by Dr. Ray. And I was invited by a friend of mine, and I thought, well, why not? So I just go. And going into the talk by Dr. Ray, I thought, I think there's something to this. So I decided, I was motivated to take the liquid. I didn't do anything with the gel at that time, but I took the liquid. I tend to be a bit compulsive. I live a very clean lifestyle. I'm vegan and I'm very active. So I decided to really go quickly. I went from 1 and 1 to 2 cups and 2 cups. And I went very quickly to 2 cups 3 times a day. And I started to feel some mental clarity, but I tend to go fast and not pay much attention to my body. But all of a sudden I thought, God, I'm sleeping better and all these things. Then 3 months in, the discomfort that I felt that initiated me to start using, these problems were gone. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is really special. So I continued to use the same amount, and I went. Another event happened a couple of months after that, when I did my semi-annual dental checkup and cleaning. I was sitting in a chair. I hate those episodes because they're so painful with the exposed nerves from the recessed gums. So I was sitting there prepared mentally. I said, okay, do it to me. And I didn't feel a thing. So I thought, God, this is wonderful. And the dentist commented, said, yeah, your gums look really good. And I said, yeah, thank you. And anyway, I went on and I started to get more energy. My golf was actually improving in terms of distance because I had more strength. I was not doing any extra physical training. In November of 24, I went on a cruise to the Galapagos. I traveled on my own, and I was on a very small ship. And the second day we were walking on a black lava field, so enormously beautiful, really gorgeous. And lo and behold, I stumble. I hit my left foot hit an uneven area, and I fell forward with my on my hands and my chin. So that was that. And my very first thought was, I kid you not, was, oh, there goes my golf game. And then all the blood was coming, and I saw my right hand was going like this, and my left hand too, but a little bit less so. And there were two physicians on that in that group from Sweden, and they said, yeah, that's going to need some work. Anyway, so I kept passing out from the shock. So they carried me to a small boat to take me back to a ship, a large cruise ship, where they had a clinic, and they triaged and put emergency casts on, x-rayed. And then I went back to to my own boat, and I immediately started to drink. I had to bring all these bottles of ASEA because I could not buy them locally. And I started to drink and, drink a bottle a day. I thought I may as well get rid of these bottles while I have them too, So anyway, I couldn't, and I put lots of gel on my face. I mean, it was started to really swell. It was stitched inside and out, and it got blue. That was eliminated after 4 days or so. It was just miraculous. It was still compromised. I had a lot of a big lump of scar tissue, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, I was evacuated back to Bangkok to get surgery. Friends of mine organized a surgeon in Bangkok. Another friend organized for me to be picked up at the airport. Went to the hospital, got admitted and evaluated, and the next day I had surgery, and it was about a 5-hour surgery, so it was pretty serious, and they were quite concerned, especially about my right hand, if it would all go well. Anyway, after a week, I went for a checkup, and I asked the surgeon if I could just do the braces, because I wanted to get gel on it. And of course, with metal in both sides, you don't need the splints and all that. So he agreed, and so then I did, and I couldn't do much else. I was so compromised. I mean, I couldn't even lift or lower my pants. Also during the flights back, I had to depend on people that are total strangers. Could you please help me in the bathroom? But anyway, there's so many nice people in the world that it was never a problem. But your life is totally dependent upon other people. So most of the time I was laying like this. Anyway, so after I had a couple of more checks, but after 6 weeks we had the major checkup, which is a stage in the healing of bones. And I had the X-ray, and the surgeon was sitting looking at his screen and then looking at me and looking at his screen and looking at me again. And he said, I can't believe it. What's going on? At the time, I was 75. So he did not believe that was going on, the healing. And he said, oh, that must be because of your healthy lifestyle. You know, you're vegan, because somehow that had come up because of the food in the hospital. And I said, might have contributed to that, but there's something else I've been doing. Anyway, he takes the liquid now too, very secretly. And continue to heal. To the day, 2 months, from 7 November to 7 January, I hit my first golf ball softly, you know, but I was hitting them. I was making the moves, and I didn't have any problem. Continued to do this. After 3 months, I played my first round of golf, which is really totally amazing, you know. Now, the surgery compromise. I think it was what caused it, the compression of the nerve, the main nerve. And I had a lot of trouble with my left hand, and I'm left-handed. And I had so many spasms and so many numbness and so many really stabbing pains, especially when you keep your hands still during the night. It was really very uncomfortable. So I was really chomping at the bit to get hold of the Redox Gold, because the gel was not solving this issue. And I finally got hold of it through a friend of mine from Australia, because it wasn't available yet in Thailand. And I put it on, and I relate to people that say, yeah, I got all excited because of the testimonials from instant relief. Well, that didn't happen with me. It took 4 days. After 4 days, all of a sudden it started to dissipate. And then it continued to do so. I did continue to do my exercises of flexibility. It's 95% healed. Other days, it's like 99%.
Amazing.
So
Margot, that's
incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I have my head feels like a big lid lifted out of it. You know, like you feel lighter,
Beautiful.
you feel brighter. Yeah. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
I will never not take it.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Margot. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Mike McFarland.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Mike, you have a rather remarkable story as well. And what's so cool about all these stories, guys, and I really appreciate you all taking your time, it's one product. It's one breakthrough, different modalities, but one single breakthrough. What I like about your story, Mike, is that you heard about this a while ago.
Well, yeah, it really took me 13 years to have an experience. Because for 13 years, I had multiple people try to share this with me, and I thought they were crazy because I considered myself an expert in water quality and how important it is for your body. And I understood the importance of salt. And I had a special system where I made my own healthy water and had my own salt. And why would I pay $50 a bottle for some salt water when I can make it in my kitchen for free?
Well, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, Debbie Wetzler and Cindy Buck were two of the people that you knew years ago.
Yes.
Okay,
so I wish I would have listened back then.
Okay, bring us up to where you were a couple of years ago, Mike.
Okay,
and
well,
I know this is a very tough story.
Well, it is. I haven't, given my testimony in over a year, so I'm not quite as emotional as I used to be.
Okay.
But who knows? Sometimes it just just jumps out and it hits you when you're least expecting it. So I had the gift of desperation when I got to know Paul Lozick, and that's the only reason I tried it. You know, he kind of backed me into a corner, and because I feel like I'm a man of my word, I had to follow through with that. So for about 5 years prior to discovering ASEA after taking it, I couldn't even mow the lawn. This South Texas high humidity environment, if I mowed the lawn, I was done for the day. I was a couch potato. It zapped me of all my energy. I thought that maybe I had suffered some sort of heat stroke or something. I didn't know, but it was just very unusual how it would sideline me. So we paid somebody else to do it. And then about a little over 3 years, about 3.5 years ago, my wife and I caught the bioweapon called COVID, and it was a tough 3 weeks. And then we recovered. We had Christmas, and then sadly, within 90 days of that, my wife died tragically. And I adored that woman. So losing her was very difficult. And it was a long walk through the desert for me for several years. And I thought that the way I was feeling was strictly the mourning process of losing the one you love, right? And so by the time I found COVID, I was telling Paul, by the time I found COVID, by the time I found ASEA or Paul Lozick, I was telling him what I was going through, and you know, I was in real estate, and I didn't have any energy, and this deep dark cloud kept following me around, and I had the brain fog and no motivation, and you know, I'm in business for myself and didn't have the emotional resources to engage, and it was a really tough time. So I was explaining all this to Paul because he also was in real estate, and he said, well, I think I've got a solution to more than one of your problems. And I'll do what you just asked of me if you'll at least try this product. And so I did for the first time. When he told me it was ASEA, I about fell out of my chair because once again, I've been saying no for 13 years from some people that are very involved, right? And so long story short, I know it takes most people longer than but I really believe that God knew that if I didn't have an immediate experience, I wouldn't stick with it. I ordered the product and then realized, hey, I might as well start this today. And I called Paul and said, I've ordered it. Can I borrow a bottle? And he said, yeah. So I took 2 ounces at 6 p.m. and then 2 ounces at 9 p.m. And I woke up the next morning, zero brain fog. The deep dark cloud that had been haunting me for almost 3 years was gone. I was energized. I was motivated. I had mental clarity. I couldn't believe it. I was like pinching myself. I couldn't believe it. And so I, you know, thought, well, this is psychosomatic. But I kept drinking it, and this was the ASEA in the blue bottle. And after about a month, I said, okay, there's something to this. I'm going to become a distributor. I didn't want to be a distributor. I just wanted to feel better. But, you know, now I can mow the lawn and then have a very busy day throughout the entire day, and it doesn't sideline me like it used to. And, you know, I'm just so incredibly grateful for that gift of desperation. And I can only imagine how different life would be had I said yes 13 years ago. And if we had that in our toolkit after catching that bioweapon called COVID, maybe my wife would still be alive. So I've got some regrets for not doing it sooner, but I'm grateful that I finally did. So,
Mike McFarland, thank you.
Appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, it's very emotional. So thank you. And it's just amazing how God works when he brings people into your life. And it took someone with a little bit more oomph in his voice to kind of put you into that corner that you that you did it, right? Because other people approached you and it just didn't resonate with you, but what he shared with you, it did, right?
yeah, well, there were some other things. I saw God's fingerprints all over it, and we had so much in common. We lived in Venezuela at the same time 20 plus years ago. I mean, we were both in real estate. There were just so many commonalities. I look at those things and I pay attention to those. If it weren't for those things, I probably wouldn't have done it. But because God put the right person in front of me.
That's right.
Yeah, we have to be open-minded and remain that way. So, Mike McFarland, thank you so much for being open and sharing your story. His story is, by the way, in R, realredoxresults.com. Mike, what story is your number? What number is your story?
It's either 137 or 139. I can't remember.
Okay, cool. All right.
Daughter's is 2 away from mine. So.
Yeah, and your daughter has an amazing testimonial as well. Anita Warren, newly in the United States from Mexico. Share us your story pretty quick, please.
I'll be pretty quick. By trade, I'm a detox specialist, and God has given me a purpose to connect people to their best healing, and I've had that purpose for a few years. And so I'm running my sauna program, and this person applies to be in my program, and I always have them fill out a questionnaire, and the question, what supplements are you currently taking? And she said, ASEA. And I had never heard of that. And instead of asking her, what's that? I just went on the internet and I looked it up and I went, oh my God, I have to have this. I got it right away when it said it works from the inside out and from the outside in. I went, I have to have this. I have to find out. And then I called her and I said, well, how can I get some of this? And she said, I don't know. I'm totally new at it. You'll have to ask Donna Lynn, who was our upline, Donna Lynn in Texas. Mm-hmm. So I called Donna Lynn, and of course, she got me right on. I mean, I ordered the product and I started on it. So then I didn't really want to get on it for me because I want to help other people. That's my big purpose. And I thought at the time, I'm 76 years old. There's nothing wrong with me except old age symptoms. And it's not going to do anything for that, of course. So I got on it anyway. And the very next day, I noticed a change in my energy level, which was better. But in the first 2 weeks of using this product, all of my old age symptoms were gone. And they're still gone. They have not come back. So there was the acid reflux I had the worst case of anybody I knew. And I was on drugs for it. And the first week, a few days, I thought, well, maybe it doesn't seem like I have it so much anymore. So I started taking a half a dose and then a none. And I ended up taking the drugs back to Costco and got my money back on the ones that were not open. And then another one of the big deals was constipation, because I've been constipated my whole life and always had to take things for it. And I had to stop taking the things that I was taking. Forget that. That's over. So, and that has been the same too. That none of these things have come back. And then I've had other kind of aches and things that, I mean, maybe I don't need to take the time to go into because we're a little short of time. But my teeth hurt from having a bridge put in 3 years before, and it hurt. It's always hurt. It stopped hurting. And my sensitive teeth that I always had to have sensitive toothpaste, I don't have to take sensitive toothpaste anymore. That stopped right away. And then just some other aches and things that I'd been going to the chiropractor for, you know, a neck thing and all that. Using a neck pillow. And the first 2 weeks, that was over. Gone. So,
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it's crazy.
It's like,
We're amazed.
well, it's just like one thing, one breakthrough, different modalities, different the liquid, the gels, and all that. And no, someone asked the question. No, you don't put the Redox Gold in your mouth. But it's crazy to think that all these different things is helping. No matter what it is, it's going to work. So, Anita Warren, thank you very much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. All right, Dan, I'm excited. A fellow Ohioan, a fellow Buckeye. And because I'm from your neck of the woods as well. Tell us your story, Dan. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, well, just to give you a little bit of background, I'm 62 and have a genetic blood disorder. I was in corporate for a time, and we came back to the farm, our organic farm, in 1997. So my wife is Nancy, and we have 6 children. 4 are out of the house, and 2 still in the house. And because of my history with this genetic blood disorder, I received a lot of less than pure blood products in the 80s and the 90s. And I knew that that put a real load on my immune system. So I was doing lots of things right as far as real food and clean water and exercise, etc. But I could still sense that I was declining. In 2017, I had a seizure in the pasture. I don't have epilepsy. And I thought maybe that was just a one-time kind of thing. And then I had another seizure in 2020, and I was driving. So that was, that was not good at all. And in short, I was seeking intensely. We had shared some raw milk with Lynn, who's my upline sponsor in Pennsylvania, about 20 years ago. And so, as you said, God has his fingerprint on lots of different things. And he used that as a way to kind of introduce us to Mike and Lynn. And then we got interested. I was seeking intensity in the whole keto diet, and Lynn is very knowledgeable about that. So she, in short, had shared the whole ASEA thing, and my pride got in the way because being kind of a nutrition guy on an organic farm, we do meat, milk, bread, and eggs. This blue bottle, the ingredients, just salt and water. I thought this is such a downgrade. This is minimal nutrition at best. And so I started it. And the very first week I had some bathroom cleansing, and I thought, what is this about? As time went on, I additionally had a little skin lesion, some abnormal cells on my chest due to perhaps raking hay with my shirt off early when I was a child. And the spot that I had really concerned me. It didn't get worse, didn't get better, had essential oils, different salves. And this is about the time of COVID. The medical advice was, Dan, just get it cut out. But because I have a blood disorder, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go into the system, as we say. And so I started, as Dr. Ray said, the serum is kind of a concentrated gel form. I started to put that on. And within a couple months, pus came out of it, and it got smaller and went away. And that really got my attention because I was seeking a solution. I knew it was a problem. I knew it went deep, and I knew the potential for it to grow was there, to get bigger. So the fact that I was able to do it so simply, so safely, was a big deal to me. That was the second thing. The immune system thing, back to that, I really had started it because I seen the trauma that introduced to my whole family, both in 2017 and before Redox in 2020. And I didn't want to go down that path because that path was ugly in terms of everything that was associated with that. So first and foremost, I was taking ASEA to strengthen my immune system. So this whole thing of the chest was a added benefit. And then because I have the blood disorder, I've always had bleeding into my joints. So the Renew 28, the white tube,
Right.
I had used that since 2020 and really liked it. The effect that it had on my joints. I still bleed into those joints, but I bleed less. And then, of course, just a couple months ago, the blue tube came out, the Redox Gold, and I really like that because I can notice a difference in how my joints feel, the strengthening my joints using the blue tube versus the white tube. So that is something that, too, is a strengthening. It takes time to do that, but the goal is to strengthen all my joints, ankles, knees, elbows, and do it in a way that allows me to have healthy longevity. Because at 62, I have a vision of the next 20 years being healthy, and being on the farm is very demanding as far as all the physical demands. But I know that in talking to Nancy, my wife, she said, Dan, the most powerful thing, though, is how you came back, meaning that the whole thing of being positive and joyful and jokes and whatnot, I kind of over the years had lost that. So the ASEA really brought that back in terms of what it did to my perhaps adrenals, who knows, but the whole emotion thing came back, and that was so huge to return to being positive and joyful.
Yeah, cool.
That's super. Ray had his hand raised.
Yeah, we're running over now, and Dan Doyle is not on tonight, so but I do want to go ahead and kind of speed through this. Go ahead, Dr. Ray, real quick.
Dan, and what about the bleeding noses that you
Oh,
have?
yes. And the bleeding nose, of course, I use the gel on the bridge of my nose and throughout here because I always had lots of trouble with nosebleeds, the whole blood disorder thing. And that was so embarrassing of having a white shirt, any kind of shirt, and having that be a surprise, the whole nosebleed thing. And so starting with the gel, I haven't had that really in the last 4 years, and I attribute that to the gel, and I nebulize every day, the liquid, and that has a strengthening effect on the sinus, and that is the missing link for the nosebleed and so many other different things. So yes, I'm so grateful for that.
That's awesome.
And again, I want to throw in the quick medical disclaimer because that is a medical device. So we don't make any medical claims. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure. So appreciate that, Dan. That was an amazing testimonial. Thank you so much.
So we're gonna end with one of my favorite gals, Judy. And Judy, you were introduced through Aaron, who I introduced to in Kerrville. And so if you can give us your story from the time that Aaron, she had, I know you have a backstory and you could throw that in as well, but y'all two met at the salon and you were not doing well that day. And she said, you should try this. And that's where I came into the picture. So pick us up because you will be wrapping up our night. And again, don't worry, we went over, but Dan's not next, but we'd love to hear your story and the hope in the bottle that it comes from ASEA. So thank you.
Thank you. My name's Judy. I have been a physical therapist for a lot of years, and I was very active, ballroom dancing, walking 4 miles a day, having just a really good life. And I went to Dallas and met some friends from the East Coast, and they wanted to go horseback riding, which was fine with me. I grew up on a farm and rode horses, but I'd never hired a horse, and they had bad tack. And horse took off at a full gallop, and I pulled on the reins to stop him, and the reins were in my hand, and nothing was attached to the horse. And so he ran down, up, over, and took a hard right, and I took a hard left, and crashed. And so for 3.5 years, I had done all the things. I had been fired by 2 chiropractors, 2 massage therapists, 2 orthopedic surgeons, and a neurologist because I refused to get surgery. They couldn't tell me what they were going to cut on. They just wanted to go in and look. And as a physical therapist, I rejected that wholeheartedly because I knew what that was going to. I knew that was going to be really, really bad. So, fast forward 3.5 years, I went to get highlights in my hair, and at that point, I couldn't walk to the mailbox without having to stop and rest before I walked back in the house, which was about maybe 100 feet. I couldn't sit for more than 20 minutes because if I did, when I would stand up, the pain would be excruciating, and my left knee would feel like it was going to, the pain in my left leg and my left knee felt like it was going to collapse. I couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes because my legs would go numb, and I think I was going to fall down. And so I was kind of miserable, and I didn't think about it, but I was probably depressed at the time. So I went to get highlights because that was going to make me feel better. And I struggled. I sat down just fine, and I struggled to get out of, anybody that's ever had highlights, it takes more than 20 minutes for them to put all the stuff in your hair. So I struggled to go to the hair dryer and sat for 45 minutes, struggled to go to the wash basin, struggled really bad to get out, hobbled, sat down in the chair. And our friend Erin goes, "You're a mess. You need help. Here, call this lady." And my inside voice says, "I'm not calling her, and I'm not doing any stupid MLM thing." And God right here said, "Oh, yes, you will." And, "Oh, yes, you will." And I went, oh, okay. So I called Ann. She started to sell me. And I said, no. I'm doing this. Just tell me what to do. So I ordered, and one of Erin's and my friends brought over a bottle for me to use. And I took 2 ounces at night, next morning, next night, next morning. And I had a 2.5-hour Zoom call that I had to be on. And those were usually miserable because I was trashed for the rest of the day after sitting for that amount of time. And so got through with it, and I really needed to go to the bathroom. So I got up and took off and got almost to the bathroom when I realized that I didn't have to stop. I didn't fall down, and it didn't hurt. So I went on to the bathroom, and then I sat and cried because I was so grateful. And pain came and went. And over the next couple of months, I noticed that the spider veins in my legs were fading, and I was pretty excited about that. I went, "Oh, good, maybe I can wear shorts next summer." So because nobody wants those ugly blue purple things all over your legs. And Jim and Ann were here in November, December, and I bit into a chicken sandwich, broke a crown, and had to wait till 1st of January to get in to get it fixed. And the dentist looks at me and he goes, "Do you snore?" I went, I don't know. I sleep alone. Maybe. And he says, "Well, I'd like to do a sleep study." And I went, okay. So we did a sleep study, and I'll fast forward all the things. I flunked it miserably. Bad enough that the dentist himself called me at 7:30 in the morning on a Friday and asked me when my next appointment was, and it was going to be about 4.5 months away. And he said, "That won't work for me. Can you come today?" And I went, Now, y'all don't know, but his office is 2 hours away from here, a little over 100 miles away. And so I said, let me make some phone calls. And he says, okay, I'll see you at noon. I was a little panicked. I had no idea. I did know because I checked my oxygen when I did the thing that the oxygen dropped to 85 in the middle of the night. And then it dropped to 82%. And for anybody that doesn't know, it needs to be above 95, closer to 100. That normal people, if it's at 85, they'll pop your backside in the hospital and put you on oxygen. So that was a little scary. But anyway, I drove that 2 hours and got out of the car, and the dentist opens the door. He was waiting for me, which did not make me feel warm and fuzzy either, because dentists don't do that. And so we walked in, and he's just talking a mile a minute, and he pulls it. I want to show you your results. And this particular type, it has 10 different kinds of things that they look at. And he proceeds to say, green is great, yellow is concern, and red is danger. Well, the thing's color coded when we looked at it, and I was just like, oh my, because I had 2 yellows and 8 reds. And so then he proceeded to show me the thing. And so for the 8.25 hours that I slept or attempted to sleep, my oxygen was above 90% for 93 minutes. It was in the 80s for about 2.25 hours, and the rest was below 80. Don't know how low it was. I refused to look at the thing. And he said, I was concerned you were going to die before you got back here. And I thought, well, maybe I should have been concerned too. But anyway, so he gave me a device and everything, and I'm thinking, holy cow. And I had been drinking religiously the molecules and doing the thing. And anyway, so we set up a program and what we were going to do and how we were going to handle it. He gave me a rescue device because I wasn't able to use a CPAP. CPAP, yeah. And so anyway, I started driving home, and all of a sudden I thought about a lady that I'd heard doing her thing, and she talked about having a cardiovascular issue, a blood thing, and how she had an aneurysm in her brain and had headaches and had no idea what it was until she went to the hospital, and she ended up having brain surgery and fixing it. And I remember she looked into the camera and she said, Redox works. It always works. I pray you never know what it's working on. And I realized that I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have anything. I just had a broken crown. And suddenly I'm finding out that there was a major thing going on that I wasn't even aware of, that God was already healing. And so lots of things have happened since then. I could go on like lots of other people, all the different things.
Yeah.
The gold has been miraculous. I treat people. I have learned that I put gold on the base of their skull, right over that big bump on the back of their head and down the neck before we start. And that gets the molecules and the gold going. I've learned that if I do that first thing in the morning and first thing at night and last thing before I go to bed, that I sleep better, my day is better, I'm more calm, and I don't need as much gold all the other places. So
Beautiful.
I can go on for hours.
I know, Judy. This is
Wow, it's wonderful.
yeah. I'll throw it to you real quick, Margot. Judy McDaniel, thank you so much. Margot, if you had a real quick comment, then we're going to turn this thing off. You're muted. Unmute.
Unmute. Yeah, thank you. I meant to plug in the animals because for over 30 years I've been a big advocate of sterilizing stray dogs and cats in Thailand. It's what I devoted my life on, both physically and financially. I rescued a dog about 5 years ago who was very compromised, and he had a lot of these mental tics that you have, like this, and his ears would twitch. And I know what it was from when she was still feral, but I can't say that. And her front paws would twitch all the time, and she's done really well. 6 months ago, I put her on the her lower front teeth were flat from the pressure of this biting all the time. 6 months ago, I put her on Redox molecules on the liquid. She wouldn't drink it, so before I gave her the kibble in the morning and in the evening, I sprayed 10 milliliters on her food. She's a very fast eater. Everything is gone.
Amazing.
I know this stuff. We're going to have Marty Morin actually in a couple of weeks. It's absolutely crazy. All of y'all, thank you.
Yes.
This has been a blessing.
Touched us.
Anita, Judy, Dan, thank you. Margot, Mike, Thad,
Thank you.
Phyllis,
Thank you.
Dr. Ray.
Yeah.
Again, a last announcement, please. Next week, we will be on Friday. We will be, a lot of us will be on vacation. We're going on the Ascend trip. So we will not be present, but Dr. Dick Walker will be here next Friday doing the show. But then we're going to switch to Thursday. We're switching from Friday night in the States to Thursday, and we're doing that on the 29th. And then Alan Noble will be doing his show typically it's the first Thursday of the month. That night we'll take off, and then we'll do all the other Thursdays. But our first guest on the 29th will be Alan Noble. We will be hearing his whole ASEA Redox journey, his experiences with our founder, Vertus Norton, who recently passed away. So that's going to be an absolutely amazing story to see how one man's whole life was radically, radically changed. And he's affected thousands upon thousands of lives within ASEA. So Dr. Ray, thank you so much, you guys. The video will be up. Dr. Lee Osler, he's at a funeral and a wedding. I did just remember. So it may take, different times, but it will be available probably Saturday or Sunday. The recording, I'll have it up on Vimeo. So with that, thank you guys. God bless. And we'll see you all later.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Simeon.
Thank you on the
Thanks,
ASEA
Dr. Ray.
Highway. God bless y'all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
You bet.